New York City, the center of the world. Tourists from all over the world come and go every day of the year to Times Square. Here, 73-year-old Ms. Gao arrives at the same time every day to warmly greet strangers from China.
这个店从14年开始吧，从那个时候呢，坚持到了现在，每天都是这样。
New York's Pier 15 is where people go to visit the Statue of Liberty, and Ms. Chu can always be found among the crowd.
今年62岁，我是2012年来的景点。
The beautiful city of Lucerne, Switzerland, is a cultural center that attracts tourists from far and wide. Ms. Yang, a retired university executive now in her 70s, has been traveling 3 hours a day for the past 12 years to find the Chinese tourists there.
我们没有车，我们就靠这个肩背啊和手提。那我呢又背满满的一双肩背的材料，然后我2个手呢要都提满了这个材料。
Scenes like this are many and can be found in Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Paris, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and over 100 other cities and regions around the globe.
Thanks to the Tuidang movement, almost 300 million people have renounced the Chinese Communist Party.
What exactly are these Chinese people doing? And what is it that drives them?
从2004年11月，这个大纪元发表了那个系列社论《九评共产党》，那么他这个用非常多的史事来揭露了共产党的邪恶本质。这一系列社论呢，在中国人中间引起非常大的反响，中国人很多人都就惊醒过来了。那么从此引发一个退党大潮，越来越多的人就开始要声明退出这个。 共产党啊，少先队啊，或者是共青团啊，那么越来越多的人来要求退出中共的时候，我觉得，我们就是有一部分志愿者就愿意来提供这样的服务。
每天那时候游客比较多的时候，那么也就退个100-200人。
都10多年了，什么刮风下雨啊，我们都不间断。
The book, entitled 9 Commentaries on the Communist Party, has, for the first time, systematically reviewed the true history of the Chinese Communist Party and analyzed the nature of the CCP. It has shocked Chinese people at home and abroad. Although CCP authorities have imposed a strict information blockade on this book, forbidding citizens and officials alike from reading it, the more it is suppressed, the more popular it becomes. Many mainland Chinese people even risk their safety searching for software that breaks through the internet blockade and bypasses the CCP's Great Firewall, just to read the legendary 9 Commentaries. In a few short years, the 9 Commentaries has quickly spread throughout mainland China. The 9 Commentaries on the Communist Party fully exposes the lies, deceptions, secret transactions, and black box practices of the Chinese Communist Party, as well as its tampering of historical facts and touting false glory. This has enabled Chinese people to see that the only hope for the country's future lies in abandoning the CCP.
Для тих роздумів не просто, що комуністична партія – це зло, що китайські комуністи мільйонами пішли з партії, коли почитали цю книгу.
I think this is a very important and I would say encouraging trend. Leaving the Communist Party is a very important signal to the leadership and people at large, of course. This is an encouraging sign for people living in Europe.
After decades under the unscrupulous rule of the CCP, more than half of China's people have been directly persecuted to varying degrees. Almost every family has suffered through the calamity and bloodshed of their loved ones. 80 million innocent Chinese people have died of unnatural causes, and the traditional cultural and ethical values and the natural environment have been severely damaged. Under violent lies, the Chinese people have been made to silently endure every kind of suffering, humiliation, and terror, and have fallen into an abyss of moral decline. Under such circumstances, Chinese people who are aware will certainly opt for withdrawing from the 3 CCP organizations.
我是98年5岁的时候和爸妈一起修炼法轮功的。当时99年开始镇压了嘛，然后我和妈妈一起被监禁在学校里面。那爸爸被非法劳教，然后当时妈妈是工资被停了，所以我们每天都是吃方便面。然后下学之后也不许回家，只能住在学校里。然后后来在02年的时候，爸爸妈妈一起被公安局非法抓捕，然后爸爸被判了4年，妈妈是7年，都是判刑。后来这几年我都是在亲戚家和亲戚一起生活的。当时04年在美汇网上就是说有关3退的这些内容，当时我在姑姑家住，姑姑就帮我做了3退，我当时是少先队。
I watched the Force Fire. I read the 9 commentaries on the Communist Party. That's a great book. It reveals the evil nature of the CCP to me, in front of me. It's like I started to realize we have been living in big lies. I visited the Santui website. I wrote on it, and it was the exact day on 2014, 10 years after the 9 commentary on CCP Party was published.
In December 2004, the Epoch Times received the first public statement of withdrawal from the Chinese Communist Party. On January 1st, 2005, a group of overseas Chinese scholars issued a joint statement of their withdrawal from the Chinese Communist Party and its affiliated organizations. Since then, the number of people participating in the 3 withdrawals has risen daily, climbing from dozens in the beginning to hundreds and now close to or more than 100,000 people every day. Every 2 seconds, on average, 3 Chinese people quit the CCP's 3 organizations. There are centers for quitting the CCP and volunteers all over the world who assist people to complete the 3 withdrawals in various ways. Many people choose to post their own statement on the Epoch Times website. There are volunteers from outside the mainland who help people quit by making calls to China, and others who use semi-automated systems to call. Sometimes, volunteers dial a number more than 3 times in order to help a person in quitting. There are also many who volunteer at tourist sites, more than a dozen such sites in New York, including the Empire State Building, Times Square, Rockefeller Center, Chinatown, Flushing, Brooklyn, Pier 15, and so on, are run by volunteers all year round.
高峰的时候，我可以，几个小时我可以劝退上百人，有时候一群一群人的退，有时候一车一车人退，有时候呢一家人一家人的退。我从2008年的5月我开始做记录，直到现在呢，我3退呢29800多人。
像我有一次碰到一对夫妇，他们是上海来的，然后他们俩退了。然后他回过头来还说，那这2个也是我朋友呢，他们也是入团入队的，也叫他退，也叫他退。那我出去3退的时候呢，我专门有本子，这是第8本了，啊，那每次出去退呢都有名字，都有日期，那我每次呢都可以上网，啊，因此说到目前为止呢，就说我已经退了15700多。
台湾在这10多年的期间，协助中国民众退出中共的党团队呢，总共超过319万人。
抛弃中共的人越来越多。比如说我们在就是第一个1亿3退的时候是2005年1月份哈，到这个2011年花了将近6年半的时间。后来的2亿呢，也是花了将近就是6年半的时间，就是2018年估计是23月份能达到这个3亿，所以它是在成倍的增长。
Tuidang.epochtimes.com. This website is the platform and database for the declaration and recording of the withdrawal statements. Each statement is unique and is distinguished by date, time, name, address, and statement content. Each statement has a digital ID that also serves as a count of the total number of people who quit the Chinese Communist Party.
中国社会它是有多少人？可能实际上可能有超过15亿个人，那还有一些海外的华人。那么了解真相之后，这个数字其实我们觉得还是太少了，而且我们的这个 登记程序都是非常严格，有层层把关的。如果有些，比如说某一个地方有重名或者什么，因为我们退党一共有编号，我们会返回去问。那么这个数字呢，非常可信的。
For those who don't live under communist rule, it is hard to understand the amount of courage needed to publicly state one's exit from the Communist Party. In China, if students want to find a good job, if employees want to move up, and businessmen want to maintain their business, they must become members of the CCP organizations to be able to achieve their goals. In other words, for the past 60 years, in order to live a normal life in China, everyone has had to become a member of the CCP. However, those who really understand the truth and have decided to do the 3 withdrawals are grateful and joyous in their hearts because they know it is right to abandon the CCP, and they can finally now live with integrity.
我觉得我不能带着这种恐惧生活一辈子。我想我要站出来，至少要帮助我自己来克服这种恐惧，并且这是对的。我为什么不做呢？就包括刚才我还收到我朋友发来的短信，跟我讲加油。
一个呢，还掏出来糖呢给我，哎，给你尝尝我从家乡带来的糖。哎，我说不要，你们旅游留着吃了，不行，这糖你得吃，这是喜糖啊。你给我们都退了，这多高兴的事儿啊！咱们共同分享。
我们跟他做完3退也跟他讲，他说你不必讲，我都知道，我的全家都被共产党迫害死了，我退。然后他热泪盈眶地对我们说：“你们要保重啊，你们是天上神派来的天使，你们是我们中国人的希望。”
在中国主要是以这个人传人心传心的这种方式来退，比如说我一个人退了，我了解真相，我觉得这么好的事情，我要让我的家人，让我的亲朋好友都来退，这样可以选择一个好的未来。
Signs of the Tuidang movement can be found in all parts of China. In the streets, parks, and residential areas, the phrase, "Heaven wants to destroy the CCP, quit for your safety," has circulated everywhere. These words can even be found on Chinese money. While overseas, large numbers of Chinese people do the 3 withdrawals at tourist attractions across the world. It's worth pointing out that due to the Communist Party's internet blockade and the frenzied crackdown on dissidents, in order to log on to the website to quit the CCP, people have to use special software to break through the firewall. Some people even risk persecution for sending the withdrawal statements to the overseas Tuidang websites. But this cannot block the power of people's wish to seek the truth. There is no shortage of government officials, diplomats, lawyers, teachers, and police department personnel who work in the CCP system that are among those who quit the party. They're even more able to understand the nature of the CCP than the average person. They have a bird's eye view of the irreversible destruction of the CCP and have seen, sooner than most, that only a China free of the CCP has hope. There are many righteous people who have braved the risk of being persecuted and stood up publicly to quit the party, further inspiring people to join the Tuidang movement. On June 4, 2005, Mr. Chen Yonglin, then First Secretary of the Chinese Consulate General in Sydney, publicly announced his departure from the CCP at the June 4th rally in Sydney. On June 8, 2005, Mr. Hao Fengjun, former official of the 610 office of Tianjin Public Security Bureau, publicly stated his withdrawal from the party during an interview by the major Australian media. On December 13, 2005, Mr. Gao Zhisheng, a lawyer known as China's Conscience, made a public statement of withdrawal from the party and set off a new upsurge for quitting the party. Mr. Jia Jia, former Secretary General of the Shanxi Provincial Association of Science and Technology Experts. Mr. Li Fengzhi, a former official of the Chinese Ministry of National Security. Unlike the free societies in the West, China is a one-party dictatorship. The CCP's violence keeps Chinese people living in fear all the time. To do the 3 withdrawals takes great courage. However, Chinese people have begun to change. Driven by the tide of the Tuidang movement, more people are choosing to bravely stand up and withdraw from the CCP with their names. The Global Service Center for Quitting the CCP at various rallies presents certificates to individuals who quit under their real name. This certificate has been approved by many countries as a legal document for immigrants.
共产党在人民心里已经大势已去了，这一点已经是非常非常清楚了。可是对于共产党邪恶的认识，我觉得是一天比一天清楚。所以，退党这件事情就成了老百姓和邪恶决裂的一个表达方式。我觉得这是最大的意义。
退党呢，对中国人的这个道德回归传统啊，从事善良啊，是有非常大的好处的。
I think the Tuidang movement is vitally important to give those people who are in this evil system a chance to get out.
I think it's great that people are saying that they want to remove their names and get out of the Communist Chinese Party. In 86, 87, very few people thought that the communist government would fall. And yet in 89, you saw them just crumble from Poland to Romania. We hope the same thing happens in China.
That's, I think, what scares the regime in China is that many freedom-loving people in a freedom-loving movement. And I just do not believe that communist philosophy is anything except the antithesis of freedom.
The people now are taking at least an individual moral decision that clearly they don't want to be associated with the present regime.
Кожна вільна людина повинна сама вибирати ідеологію, погляди і прихильність до тої чи іншої політичної сили. Тому, якщо є такі тенденції, це говорить про те, що
I applaud all those who are trying to make it possible for people to come back and get away from the monster.
Obviously, there is no religious freedom. Obviously, there is no freedom of the press. There is no freedom of speech. Therefore, I'm not surprised that many, many more Chinese walking away from the Communist Party.
For decades, the Communist Party of China has exported communist wickedness to the outside world, bringing disaster to Southeast Asia, the Indochina Peninsula, Africa, and Latin America, and has further infiltrated parts of the Western world, such as the United States, Canada, Europe, and Australia, and New Zealand. In the past 30 years, all Western countries have hoped to change the CCP through initiatives like free trade in economic and diplomatic cooperation. However, Western investment of hundreds of billions of dollars each year didn't make China embark on democratic reforms and improve the CCP. On the contrary, it pumped new life into it. The CCP, in turn, used communist spies and incentives to infiltrate communism into the Western world.
Right now, they are buying up politicians in Australia and New Zealand. They are dominating Africa. They are buying up huge influence in South America, Latin America, and also in the United States and Canada.
一个没有共产党的中国，不仅是对中国社会有非常大的好处，使人们能够有自由与和平，同时对世界和平、对美国的安全、国际的安全都是有非常大的好处。
那我希望所有了解这些真相的西方朋友都可以关注我们这个三退大潮，因为中国人三退大潮对中国人是好事，对全世界都是好事。
I think without CCP, we will face a better future. Do something. Either from your heart or anything you could to spread the truth.
More than 3,000 years ago, Moses led the persecuted Hebrews to leave ancient Egypt for the fertile land that the gods handed down. Today, the awakened Chinese are expressing the same idea in a peaceful manner. Martin Luther King said, "The greatest tragedy of this period of social transition was not the strident clamor of the bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people." Historically, the United States has been the world's beacon of freedom. The abandonment of communism by the Chinese people will also help the American people and the U.S. government resist the encroachment and control of the communist forces internally and globally.
This hallowed body, this body that stands for freedom and justice and respect for human rights.
To the leaders of China, do not be afraid of freedom.
On September 23, 2011, 8 members of the U.S. House of Representatives, including U.S. Congressman Thaddeus G. McCotter, jointly submitted the 416th resolution of the House of Representatives. This is in solidarity with the Epoch Times 9 commentaries on the Communist Party editorial that has triggered the movement of nearly 300 million Chinese people quitting the CCP and its affiliated organizations. Many U.S. politicians have expressed their support for the tide of quitting the party by issuing speeches, writing letters, and by participating in assembly rallies. We firmly believe that people who defend justice and conscience will eventually win, and that history is not written for evil. At the turning point of history, no one can simply walk by. Let each of us make the right choice, witnessing this historic moment together.